felt like sharing this today, well, in English, because there are still times where how I communicate is often misinterpreted or feels misinterpreted, or just misconstrued, I suppose is the word for that. And I've always felt this. I like being genuine, and maybe I don't appear genuine to people. I don't know, maybe, I guess I'm also hard to read. So it's almost like this wall, right, or this veil, or whatever it is. And so I want to see that in others. I want to see the change in others. I want to see, or so when I say that, I mean like I want to see, I tend to jump thoughts as well. My desire is to see people feel good about themselves. And this starts with language. This starts with communication. The way I see it is communication is communication. But for me, having gone through music, and all the bunch of different things, like even astrology, swimming, all that stuff, I'm usually good at that. I'm good at that stuff. But when it comes to language, there's this feeling of like I haven't, you can say, conquered it yet. People say it's like, oh, I'm good at languages, yada yada. But this right away, when people tell me that, there's this disbelief inside that goes, I don't know, so that's why I'm so passionate about, people call it language acquisition, and you'll see examples under language acquisition called comprehensible input. And I see it a lot too with people, like, there's miscommunication happening between people. They worry about their accents, and they really feel like, even though they know a lot of words, and I feel like that too. Even though it looks like I don't. Like people say I have good mastery, but I was just like, what made them say that I have a good mastery in English? So there's that perception still, right? That I get this a lot, and this is just the hard truth that I feel I interpret. This is my interpretation. This is my perception. And when people tell me that, it's like, so you mean because I'm not white? Or, so you mean, like, you see what I mean? So there's, I don't know. So what I mean, what I feel when I get that is like, is there something in me that gives off foreigner? Is there something that I say, how I say it, the nuances, all that stuff? Not so much what I say, but how I say it. Is there something about it that gives off this vibe that it's like, he's not of this world? And I suppose that's something, I'd have to accept myself, that, embracing my weirdness, eccentricity, and foreignness, or whatever, right? Yeah, I wasn't born in Canada. I was raised here and partially in the United States. But that's the other thing, where I wanted so much for myself, at least, to exude that sort of like convincing energy, convincing vibe, or whatever you want to call it, that I'm not foreigner, I belong here. So I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe just people I've heard when they say that, it's like, you have a good mastery of English. What do you mean? What does that mean? I consider English my first language. I wasn't born here, yes, but it replaced technically my other first language. So basically, I did grow up bilingual. So there's a lot of confusion there. So you see where the energy lies. It's that perception that I have that it's that being bilingual is not really the fact here. But I want that for other languages too, because I want to feel like, I want to connect more. And in truth, that comes from a past that I've had where I felt, this is not any blame or pointing fingers at anyone, but I've always felt like the distance I've had from family has shaped a lot of that. Because I've always wanted a genuine connection. But the thing is, I usually expect it of others. So when I started to expect it of myself, meaning like what's genuine for me, and I still work on it, I realized, then I started to accept my foreignness, my weirdness, my eccentricity. So, but I still want that for the world. I want a world where people are communicating with each other, and those like endangered languages, and for me I feel sadness there. I feel like it's tragic, but it doesn't have to be that way. If only we could build something where no language is excluded and everyone speaks all languages. As in, when I say speak, I don't mean speak, I mean communicate in it, like where we feel so good in it and there's not a smidgen or not a drop of doubt in so-called the native speaker, because they see the other person as a native speaker. When I say native speaker, I don't mean in a sense that it's like, legally native speakers and I was born here. I can prove with my citizenship where I was born here. No, I mean native speaker feel embodiment. So I want that for the world. This is why I'm so passionate about, I want to say also serious, but very passionate about getting people to just pick up languages in the most natural, organic way. But like we did when we were children, I see it on time and time again online, and people everywhere. We still cling. I still do that myself. We still cling to the traditionalized system, not the old system. At least for the past 500 years. We'd like, let's do the grammar thing, let's do the translation, let's correct each other, and it's just like, it doesn't work that way for me, at least for me, yeah, it doesn't work that way, because it's not, I tried it, time and time again, it doesn't work. I've been in languages since I was 12 years old, as far as I can remember. The only language I can definitely can say that I have confidence in is the language that I grew up with, because I didn't learn it as like in school. I picked it up over time, and that's the other thing. We were so in a rush to be fluent. We're so in a rush to get the word right. We're so in a rush to get it right. We're so in a rush to get information. We're cheating ourselves out of genuine fluency. We're cheating ourselves out of confidence. And I don't know. I could be just projecting, but every time when I say this stuff, it's almost like there's this disbelief or something like that. I don't know what it is, but what I see is this potential, this huge potential that can be made into reality now. Not tomorrow, now. And the key is being childlike. It literally is being childlike, patient, like nature. The bud doesn't force itself, the seed doesn't force itself, the bud doesn't force itself to become a flower or a tree. It bides its time. But as humans, we're so obsessed, well, conditioned really, just get the answers right away. We allow these things to permeate our beliefs, and it's like, okay, I believe that my pain through this is also my purpose, one of them. And I want a world that communicates so much to the core level of it's really intuitive, instinctive, empathetic, compassionate, childlike, present, patient, naturally patient. Where, for example, like when it comes to like corrections, we don't do it like, oh, you're wrong. This is how we do it. This is why in teaching they say like when you correct someone, you indirectly do it. So, oh, you repeat the sentence. So, for example, someone says like, I like the apple. Oh, so how come you like apples? And through time, that gets repeated. Yes, there's that, but there's also the whole relationship factor. You connecting. There's that energy. There's this symbiosis that's hidden. It's unspoken. It's the unwritten so-called curriculum. And we connect because we're connecting with each other. But that's the other thing too. Are we really connecting with each other? Now even more than ever, it's like we're disconnected. And then how are we supposed to actually even feel good, let alone confident, let alone get to the point of confident, genuine fluency where we don't doubt ourselves. So it's a layer of how we are as humans that cannot be disregarded. It can't be disregarded because the way we communicate, not only with others but with ourselves, is exactly how we will communicate with others. The other thing is to grammar is still, it's still being taught like as if it's like that's important. Why do we need to know the grammar? What's the focus on that? What is the purpose of learning grammar? It's like learning for the sake of learning, getting information for the sake of getting information for the sake of getting information. I mean, what's this desire, this hunger to really know it? It was like, if I don't know what my schedule is tomorrow, I'm going to freak out. Isn't there a link between that and what I'm talking about? Right? And, in translation, that's one of the worst things that I found for myself. It's like, yeah, I have good memory. Okay, I have visual memory. Okay, great. I remember the word. Okay, well. But is it really something I really understand? Do I understand the nuances behind why something is said? I'm not talking about content itself. I'm not talking about words or structures or what's inside. I'm talking about how it is, because communication is so much deeper than that. It is something that is transmitted at the deeper level. We call it deeper, really it's subconscious, but it's not really deep. It's there. It's intuitive, it's instinct, all of the above, everything that's intrinsic in us. When we look at, these flags, for example, we don't recognize the image there. The first thing that comes automatically to our heads is what, through millions of years, are the colors. We recognize the colors. We don't recognize the symbols. We don't recognize numbers. We don't recognize letters right away. We have to actually consciously you learn them. This is why reading can be such a challenge. This is why writing can be such a challenge. But the key to language is not reading and writing. The key to language is communication. But underneath all that communication comes cultures. That your cultures I guess you could say ethnic cultures, personal cultures, collective cultures, familial cultures, different types of cultures. It affects how we communicate. That's why there's such a thing as a dialect continuum. It's not just, for me, there's no such thing as standard language. Everything is a dialect. But within dialects, there are dialects within dialects within dialects within dialects. But what does that mean? It just means everything flows. It's like saying there's a species, there's a subspecies. We like to categorize things, but those are just stepping stones. Those are just stepping stones. They are not the truth. The whole thing, they're just like guides, right? But it's what we're doing is we're using the guides as a manual for living. It's like saying, oh, I'm gonna learn how to drive by putting the driver's manual right in front of me and learn how to drive that way. So if I turn, okay, this way, turn right. This is how, okay, this is, okay. Then, okay. We've forgotten how to work with our instincts and our intuition. The left brain is great for things because, that's logic and practicality. That's great because it gives us sort of guides where we're going through. But when it comes to something like language, it has to be connected to the body. And the body is the one that creates emotions through how it perceives thoughts. Emotions are just an expression of thoughts through the body. If you really process that, that's what emotions are. But that's also the gifts of emotions. During the pandemic, we were like, so it's a traumatic event. We will never forget this. We will never, at least the next, 100 years or so, we won't forget this because it has such an emotional impact. It's trauma. But that is a gift. It's a gift of emotions. And emotion is just one part of the whole process. Fluency is tied to emotions. For me, I want genuine fluency, but that comes with everything else. Context, content, picking up the structure, etc., right? Really understanding the nuances, and it's really like, embodying it. I have so much passion for it because I truly feel like that. Because, that's what I want. I'm just really sharing right now. And I hope that this could be something that can be, So anyways, that's all I'm going to say right now. So, thank you for watching me what you might consider ranting. But I'm speaking my truth and why I'm doing this in the first place. And no bullshit, no background changes, nothing. It's just the way it is right now. Okay, so if you're curious, watch the videos that I posted about the one in Tagalog. Exactly the way I set it up to be. Trust your intuition, trust your instincts. You don't need to force anything, you don't need to do anything, you don't need to. Just trust yourself. Confidence is acquired through feeling good about trusting your inner creativity, your inner potential, your inner ability to actually understand it. Fluency doesn't just come from this. It also comes from this. It's actually a flow. I was watching a video earlier about how he said, like, watching videos passively doesn't work. Well, yeah, because you're passively watching it. Because you're just going like this. Of course it's not going to work if you're just passive about it. But if you're having fun and you're actually connecting with it, but it's way more than that. It's not the online thing that will help. It is actual interaction with people. And I missed that. So, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I do know that it's something I'm being pushed to connect more with people. I don't know, recently I've been connecting with a friend who speaks Farsi, and I found so timely. I found this person who does comprehensible, they call it comprehensible, which is just a part of, who cares about the term? And she does videos, and I thought, oh, wait, that's way better than me going in through the old stuff and the textbooks and yada yada and all that stuff. Sometimes we're relegated to rely on old structures. Right? Routledge has a good, I wouldn't say good, because there's just translation. And translation, to me, never works. Unless it's a means to an end. Because you won't get the nuances when you first pick it up from your own target, your own language. You ever notice that, at least least for me, what I've noticed in the Anglo-Saxon world is when it's categorized in, like, you look at like the website like Routledge, right? I notice is like everything else is translated into English. But when it comes to the English stuff, it's still in English. Why is that? Speculate on that. Okay? So it doesn't make sense to me. Okay? So, anyways, that's it. I hope my point makes sense. I hope it makes sense. I hope it all makes sense. Yeah. See you guys later. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys later.